Welcome back to the HPI Venture FJ Cruiser build. You're looking at stage 4 minus the lights and a couple of scale accessories that have not arrived. But I'm going to go ahead and get started, so I figured I'd walk you through what I'm going to be doing here. And this started as going to be adding some detail to the body and some scale accessories, and kind of snowballed on me. So the belly is going to get some attention with this nice Bauhaus 3D printed skid without the hump. And then since I'm doing that, I went ahead and got high clearance steel lower links. And I've already put on steel links, which I really like, but these high clearance on the bottom I think will help me out. And then you can see that hump on the stock skid. So this will get rid of all of that, give me a little more clearance. And while I'm giving attention to the belly, I'm going to put these steel sliders with kickouts on there. They'll add a little more weight as they're fairly heavy. So the front end, I finally found some brass knuckles, unicorn parts at this point in time. So I got the plates to go with those in gunmetal, and I got the gunmetal panhard and the transmission case, because all that aluminum stuff is getting cheap if you can find it, since this stuff's discontinued. So that will match the aluminum lockout I've got on the back axles. Now, kind of go with the gray gunmetal theme. So one of the first things I got was a Snorkel way back. Never installed it because I was very unhappy with how unrealistic it was, and you can see how short it is in length on the side versus the exclusive RC carbon nylon. And this one actually has Safari Snorkel molded on the side, which is super realistic. So this one has bumps on the back that fit into the bushwhackers, so you know where it sits on the body. The negative is you have to glue this one, shoe glue it. This one actually is rubber, which is nice. Nice detail on the head, separate piece, collar. This one has nubs and pins, which is cool, but maybe it'll work on the CC01 FJ. It does come with stickers, which is cool. I'll use those. Got a rear ladder. This is also for the Tamiya CC01 FJ, but it mocked up really nicely. Exclusive RC carbon nylon Expedition 1 style front bumper. Really sweet, and I've already fitted on my hot racing red shackles. Had to sand down those mounts just a hair. Had a rough edge on the bottom, unfortunately, so I had to sand that down a little bit. Otherwise, very nice. It's got a winch mount. Got a fair lead to go with that, a worn. Some more shackles for the rear. Then gear-wise, got the Max Tracks, got a few other things coming. Found a net from a seller on eBay. Rear diff, aluminum, red ARB with stickers, finished that out. Got some antennas here. Got the rear wiper and hinge, which in real life, that's where I've got my my Fire Stick antenna mounted. But this one is more, scale-wise, looks more like a metal whip. But I've got these other Fire Sticks that a seller makes, and they're super realistic. They're not going to fit obviously on that mount, that hinge, but they may fit on the bumper. So there's a 3-foot and a 5-foot to scale. So if I don't use them on this, I'll use them on something, but they're really nice. Maybe more of a 1/8 scale. And then I've got finally my spare. So picked up a set of wheels, tires, and scale hubs. So mount one up and sell the other one on eBay. And then I've got lighted mirrors coming in carbon nylon to actually get some lighted marker lights. And then I've got the power shift light bucket set coming with a switch and a 12-volt up converter for the lights. And then I've also got some bumper lights that I'm going to add to that kit for the fogs down low. So That's quite a bit of work there. Oh, and one other thing I'm going to look at is something that's bugging me owning an FJ, besides this back door window that's very square instead of the rounded, is this rear door. It should be black above the window, and it's got a center high tail light. And you can see they molded the door, they just painted it white above that. So I'm gonna see about getting that blacked out and maybe stickering in or painting a center tail light to get a little more realism there. So I guess I will go ahead and get started on this thing and update as I go. Okay, a little update here. I've got this center trans skid fitted with all the screws and kind of the holes cleaned out, so you can kind of see it here. Very nice piece. Very smooth. Had to go slow with the screws. They thread in both sides. I mean, I guess you could clean out the outer so it just slides in. And what's neat is the way they get rid of the hump at the bottom is they just clock the transmission. So here's the original, and it it mounts flat. And then in this one you can see, if you notice, there's an angle. You can see that, especially at the bottom. Let me drop it in here. So the holes that come through the bottom are actually angled. So everything screws in nicely, and it really doesn't change the geometry of your drive shaft from the transmission. And it barely, clocks this up a little bit, your output shafts here from your transfer case. So it really does not screw with the driveline geometry at all, which is nice. So if you're wondering, that's how they do it. And then you can ditch all of these little separate, link mount pieces. I looked at their recommendations of which screws to move where and reuse, and I ended up going longer than their recommendation everywhere. So this is what I did. And I've got the low center of gravity tray, not the Bauhaus, the Crawler Central one, but either way it has, either one of them have thicker mounts than the stock. So even in the instructions for the Bauhaus, it tells you if you've got that, add 5 millimeters to the rear. So I did 25 on all the uppers because they've got such a thick inner stop, and then at the rear they're going to have that thicker mount plate. You have a thicker mount plate here at the rear, so that's oversized as well. So I think 18, and then I've got 15s in the front because it's stock, and then 25s up there, and then the bottom all around is 20. So that seems to work. Alright, a little progress here. Got this skid plate mounted in. Got the links connected. I don't have the high clearance ones in there yet. I'm just making sure everything fits. I'm going to get the transmission, I think, swapped in. I'm going to have to add some shims in here. There's some space in these links. I've already shimmed this front top. But one thing to know is this did not fit in the frame rails. It was about 1/8 of an inch too wide, and the stock skid tapers towards the rear on each side, and so this one did not. So I had to take about 1/16 of an inch off of each side and also kind of taper that down to the rear. So that took quite a bit of sanding and then coming in and test fitting and sanding and test fitting. But this wasn't able to close without putting a lot of flex right here. And then with the stock one in there and this connected, the stock one can slide freely. So this one ended up fitting in there after I did a little sanding work on it. But that's the progress so far. I'm going to keep on trucking. Alright, got the transmission in, or the transfer case actually. It looks sweet. Went in with no problems. Got the high clearance links in. And ended up running the short end towards the middle. I installed it both ways, but with the angle towards the middle, it was angling down below the drive shaft. So this works out well because the short end is basically flat when it's sitting, and then it breaks over basically right with the drive line. So one other thing I noticed is now with the belly skid raising the drive lines up and transmission up just a hair, you can see those drive cups for the drive lines sticking up above the frame rail. So the bow house has a little slot there to allow for that on their low center of gravity tray, but this Crawler Central doesn't, and it's going to basically sit kind of like that, and you can see it's sitting pretty high now. So I think I'm going to have to cut out a little notch here in the middle, kind of like the bow house, to allow for that cup to protrude up. So I've got to get that done, but I think before I even do that, I'm going to hit the knuckles and the pan hard, get that taken care of, get the diff on, because I've got to put the fender liners back on before I put that tray on. But there is progress, and it looks good. Okay, the ARB aluminum diff cover is in. Finally, a piece that's truly bolt-on. So that went in without a hitch. I'm super impressed with the look of this and the fit and finish. It's even got the drain plug. It's super cool. Alright, heading to the knuckles. Alright, making some progress. Got the other knuckle on. About to put this one on, but I just wanted to show kind of the GPM aluminum knuckle versus stock versus the STRC. Which STRC is exactly like stock for the plate, except for it's got a little bit of a recess for the screw head. The knuckle is cut in instead of kind of a straight triangle. You can kind of see it there. It's kind of notched. The bottom looks to be the same. The GPM is kind of weird. It's got this like extra positioning hole which you can't use on the Venture, because when this thing flexes, since it's behind the axle steering, if you push that back, then it'll hit the transmission. So it's kind of weird that this is for the Venture, but I guess maybe if you use a different wheelbase, potentially, I don't know. But anyways, just wanted to show those before I ditch these GPM. Alright, got an update here on the bumper. Got it fitted, got the fair lead on there. I don't know if I can get an angle where you can see the worn, but yeah, it looks pretty sick. These shackles look great, they look super realistic. The bumper, there was a little trouble fitting it. First time I fit it, I couldn't get this rear panhard mount screw to go in straight. It kind of was wanting to go at a forward angle. So I took the bumper back off and ended up loosening both screws on the bottom of the shock tower of the frame, so I could just kind of pull the frame apart a hair, kind of loosen it, and then pull the bumper off. And then I kind of dry fitted the panhard mount to the bumper, and it fit fine. So then I slid it back on and just did this side first and everything. I was able to push the bumper on and seat it well and get it all in straight. Then I did that side. Then I came back and cinched this up tight. So just a little bit of patience. Go slow fitting it. The worn fair lead lined up perfectly with the holes drilled. No problem fitting that in. These hot racing shackles, I don't know why they're so expensive, but they're super realistic. They've even got kind of the stamped piece on them. But yeah, those cost an arm and a leg. But yeah, knuckles, got all the gunmetal. Yeah, all that gunmetal aluminum. I got steel on that, so I probably normally wouldn't have just thrown that on there, but completes the kind of gunmetal look here. And then, man, this rear diff is really sweet. So now to get the fender liner on and then do a little fitment of that battery tray. Get the tire on, and then I will be pretty much done with the chassis and ready to move upwards to the body work. Yeah, well, one success equals one failure. I got the tray modified to sit down flush and provide clearance. So it all worked out well. And as I had it flipped over and was attempting to fit it and work on the links, kind of slid off what it was sitting on and toast. So that really sucks. This is not any stronger than that. So the bars are coming off, and that sucks. This was such a cool bumper. I wish they made a metal one. You know, I kind of figured this was questionable, but I thought the nylon, but you know, I guess might as well happen now. Would have happened out on the trail at some point. So, you know, I was debating the tube bumper, the RC four-wheel drive tube bumper. I have one on my FJ. And I decided to do this Expedition 1 steel type bumper just for something different. And it looked cool, but shoot. Oh well. Maybe another new bumper in my future. Quick update here. Got both sliders on. They took a little finagling. The steel posts, of course, don't really give, and so I don't know if it's due to this printed battery tray, but I had to kind of squeeze both posts to get them in there, and then I had to wallow out one of the holes over here a little bit on the slider. Since these are pins, they just thread at the top, so they don't thread into the slider, they just pin it. And then if you've got the liner and you actually have these screws, they will cut threads, so go slow, do those first, or you could use pins there, but you'd kind of lose the hold down of that liner. So those look good. Went ahead and got the spare on, left the foam out in case I catch that bottom edge, which happens. And then the front bumper, I went ahead and shaved those mounts off where the kind of the bull bar was coming off, and it, you know, I like the look of it. I don't know if I'm gonna mess with trying to fill these because I don't want to paint this thing. It's just gonna get beat up. And then I found one other issue. At full compression on each side, it gets into the back side of that bumper just a hair. At full lock, so I'm gonna have to take a little out of this back edge to clear that tire. So this bumper is turning out to be a lot more trouble than it's worth. I like the look of it. It fills out the front. I mean, it looks like it should scale-wise with the body, but man, it's taken some finagling to get it fitted in there. So I'll cut into it, get it fitted, and I'm gonna go ahead and run it. And you know, if it gets beat up, I can always replace it. No big deal. So I'm going to get on to the body work now and start with the painting of the upper back door and that rear tail light. and then I guess lighting, got to glue in those buckets, and then move to all the exterior accoutrement, the snorkel and antenna and some of the gear, do all that stuff last. So I'm gonna keep on trucking. Well, I'm back at this low center gravity tray after I got those sliders on, since I had to kind of finagle those to fit. I guess they were putting enough pressure that they actually cracked this mount of this crawler central, but this is 3D printed and its strands are this way and it's fairly brittle. You can see that crack is just, I mean, I think I can just break it in half. Yeah, so it's a fairly brittle plastic. So I went ahead and ordered this Bauhaus, and it's super nice because it's already cut out for the raised transmission skid plate, so you don't have to modify it because of course it works with the other Bauhaus piece. This plastic feels a lot better. This was from A-Main. That was the really nice SLS nylon, I think. It's about twice the price of the one on A-Main, so that's really nice plastic. So I'm going to try to fit this in, so this will go back to using the stock mounts for the sliders, and then I've got some 30mm bolts to extend, that will extend through these fat chunks, and then the rear just actually clip in the inside of the frame rails. There's no screw hole, and this is quite a bit wider, so I kind of like that it lets you use the stock slider mount. So hopefully, what I'm hoping is that may help with the fitment of these guys. These posts were just not perfect, so it made it really tough because there's really no flex in these, which is good. So anyways, I'm going to fit this up, and hopefully I've got a little more play in the fitment of these guys, so we'll see. Alright, one last update here on the chassis. Got the Bauhaus skid installed. Got the trans skid, got the liner back in. The sliders fit in now, no problems, since we're using the stock slider mounts again. Got the high clearance links in, the belly skid, got all the links shimmed, so there's no movement side to side, snug fit. I reworked the front steering geometry, so I took out the spacers I had on the panhard mount. I had to trim this bumper even more, so I flip this thing over. You can see here, got a little more extreme on the trim, but I wanted to make sure at full compression I had clearance. I removed the beef patties, the brass discs. They weren't giving me full hex engagement, so I wanted, now that I'm running 3S, I wanted to make sure I had full hex engagement. So no spacers here, so that's now tight. I feel like this front, one of these holes in the bumper is partially stripped. So I want to make sure this has really good engagement and is as tight as I can get it. So I think I'm done with the chassis. I just picked up an Axe Red Cat Gen 8. So I was looking at those battery straps, and it inspired me to go ahead and fix them up. and they'll just slide under the wings here, and I can snug down here. Instead of having one central, I'll have one on each side. And what's nice is I can take the liner off without removing the tray or the slider mount. I can just slip it out. Unfortunately, you can see the prior fitment holes from that other battery tray. So I ordered a new one, which I have in hand. So I'm going to hack this one up a little more once I get my light buckets in, and get this one kind of fitted perfectly, and then use it as a template for my new one, so I don't have these big holes here. So there we go. So I'm going to jump onto the lights and start getting those fitted in. All right, a little update on the lighting progress. After purchasing 2 sets of replacement lenses, I got one for an axial UTB and then one for an axial, I think the Chevy Blazer. The UTB was too small, the Blazer's too big for these. This is the Power Shift HPI Venture light kit. So it comes with lights and then the buckets for all the lights. So I've got these painted. So I went to the local hobby shop, and actually the guy was like, oh, I use these for all my, headlight deals. So it's just this, I don't know, whatever brand, $20 light bar kit for 10 scale, and I guess he actually uses the reflectors. He cuts them off the light bar and uses these, but it comes with clear lenses, and they popped in money. They're a little bit bigger than the sticker, but they are perfect to fit in the inset. And right now they're not even glued, they're just friction popped right in there. So they're a little bit bigger than my reamer, which I think was 15.3 millimeters. So these are maybe like 17, but you can just get them as big as you can. And then I kind of wobbled it a little, pressed around the edges. Then I took an X-Acto and kind of carefully widened it, a little here and there, keeping it circular, and just test fitted until I could just press it in. You can see, I'll just pop it out. So, the hole doesn't have to be perfect, because you're going to hide the edges, once this presses in. So just the way this grill is, you kind of got an inset. So you kind of press it in, and what's cool is I think I'll be able to glue it from the rear. Press it all the way through. So there it is, and I can kind of twist it and get it straight. It's pretty dang straight. And then I should be able to, ring it with glue and then glue this guy in from the back. And you can kind of see here, I've taken off the paint behind the sticker for the marker. But then there, since those headlights were painted black, from the grill, if you take the sticker off the headlight, there's black underneath, so there was no removing the paint from the back to get it to show through. So anyways, I'm going to see about getting all these shoe glued in, and then get to wiring. All right. Got these lights in, and these lenses in the front look so good. They look like they were made for this. And I've got my front fenders trimmed. I had to kind of come in a little bit here and down, take out this kind of corner. The side marker LED is actually on the end here where the circle is, so that's where it kind of protrudes on the inside. You can see here. So it's kind of, you're clearing that piece right there. The headlight is kind of above the liner, so it's not really an issue. And then I've got the back pieces in, and again the liner stops short at the rear, so there's no issue on the back side. So let's pop this thing on here. So it drops in easily. So now I'll get the wires in there and taped up to the body shell, pop the bumper lights in there, get those routed, and make sure I'm still good on the clearance. And then I'll be ready to cut and paint the other liner and get that replacement in there. But they look great. I could not be happier with those lenses. This looks so good. Alright, quick rundown of the lighting. Got the power shift switch and 12 volt up converter. And then I ordered some splitters, so that will split and go to the power shift harness. So that takes care of front and rear headlight, tail light markers. Then I'll have a split off here, and I'll wire into the bumper lights so I can keep these plugged in and then unplug the body, because this is chassis mounted. Then whenever those lighted mirrors show up, I will add a splitter to the body so I can have the body lights, and then one of those will go to the mirrors. So then it will still be one disconnect for the body and leaving the bumpers connected. So I've got some connectors for those bumper lights, and then some shrink tube wire management, maybe to hide some of the stuff. So that's kind of the plan. Some extra splitters, whatever. So that's the plan. So I'll get to this and kind of tape it up on the underside of the body, see if I can get this lit up. Alright, got the lights all in here. Let's get these guys powered up here, and then I'll kind of walk you through what I did. Alright, so it's powered on. Channel 3 switch. Boom. So all the body lights, the mirror lights, and I got the fog lights. So the fog lights kind of route up between the servo and the shock tower, and I've got that first half in like this woven nylon sleeve just for a little more protection up here. So then that comes down and wraps around to a three-way, and then I've got that double-sided to the fender liner. So I can actually unplug all of these. So that's going to the bumper, which is to the frame, and then this guy to the ESC. So then I could take this off if needed, the fender liner. So then coming out of that is the main power source from that 12 volt up converter and switch. So then that whip goes to another splitter, and then you can see here I've got the mirrors and the main harness coming off of that, and then the mirrors split to their individuals, and then the main harness ends up, part of it goes to the front, and that ended up working out really well. I just had to bend these down and up to get, up out of that fender liner. Headlights, were inside, so no issue there. And then the rear, since the harness was cut even, instead of having more length to this side, ended up having to wrap quite a bit of the main harness leg and then run that back. But there's plenty of length. Everything is working fine. And I think at some point I may drop an interior in, so that may hide any of this. I could always kind of black tape over everything, but for now, in case I need to move something around, I think this works pretty well. So that's the setup, and then you can see the red cat battery straps. Sorry HPI. Just a quick shot here with the body on, but that is looking killer. That's looking really good. Those bumper lights tied in, the mirror lights are awesome. Hopefully those guys hold up. Then I got the brake light, and then the signal light. No reverse. because there is no brains to this, there's no controller, so if that makes sense. There's a spot, so you could have a reverse in that bucket if you wanted, but I'm not going to go down that route. This was enough right here. So anyways, now to the final little details here and some gear. All right, I'm back with the scale details installed, and I'm telling you what, this thing is looking like a real truck. Pretty sweet. Fire stick ended up using the 5-foot scale version and screwing that into the bumper, and that has a nut from below, so that's secured very nicely. And you can see I got the Safari Snorkel shoe glued in, and that's something I was kind of nervous about. Ended up kind of tracing the outline with masking tape as it was dry fit, so I knew exactly where to put it, and I had masking tape to peel away if I got over, you know, some squeeze out shoe goo. So worked out perfect. Didn't get any shoe goo on the body. Very clean. Let me flip it around and we'll look at this other side here. Here you can see the exclusive RC rear door hinge antenna mount, and then there's the no-name metal ladder that I ordered off of AliExpress, and I guess this is really made for the Tamiya FJ, the CC01 body, but you can see the profile. I got that to fit just perfectly. Looks just like a real Gobi ladder, so really happy with that. And then the other piece of that exclusive RC set was the rear wiper, and it's pretty much hidden, so you can see it there. And again, I just used a black bolt and a nut from the inside, and then you can see I had another body accessory set, so I took the backing plate and I used that on the outside, so I got a backing plate on the inside and on the outside, so that gave me a little spacer. And then I used just some longer threaded bolts. So that, you know, spaced this out, probably gave it another couple millimeters. So it's just a little bit easier, not so tight and compressed. You know, it would fit the other way, but this is a little easier, less stress. So the next thing is getting some gear on here to outfit this thing to actually take the trail. And you know, with gear always comes some stickers. So let's take a look at the gear real quick and then I'll get it on. Alright, let's take a quick look at what we'll be installing, hopefully, if we can fit it. I've got the RC 4-wheel drive scale high lift, the high lift extreme. It's got the different head on it, black with the gold handle. ARB snatch straps set, some bed rolls. I've got this nice little case for the top. I was looking for more of a low profile case that's a little bit thicker. And then I've got some RC 4-wheel drive max tracks I've already got out and kind of messed with. And then a shovel from Racing that looks like the actual first yellow shovel that I used to have on my FJ. Then I've got a little cargo net to maybe hold all this stuff down. And I found this seller on eBay, I think from Germany somewhere, and he actually had this cool sticker sheet for Toyotas. So it's got the TEQ sticker and it's got the Land Cruiser Association member sticker, which I've got both of those on my FJ. And then it's got some assorted other Toyota stickers. Looks like the 40, some Tundra, different trucks, the Lineage, and then just, you know, some dealers. So a couple of those would go on there, and then, you know, of course, all of this stuff came with stickers, and then I've got some more, you know, sponsor stickers from some of this other gear. So I'm gonna see if I can't get some of this fitted to the rack. All right, I'm back with a little surprise here. You didn't see this coming. I got all the gear on there except for that black cargo box, and got the stickers on, and it looks sweet. But then in looking at it, I was thinking, you know, I've upped the look of the FJ so much that I think I need to up the performance as well. And I've been reading and watching Holmes' YouTube and posts. So I've been wanting to try a motor, so I tried this, you know, nothing super expensive, just a $20 Trailmaster Sport 27 turn. So a little bit of an upgrade from this 35 turn HPI stock motor that's in here. And then with the upgraded servo that I've got, I've been wanting to up the output to that with a BEC. And then looking at the cost of those, it made sense to just go ahead and get a new Hobbywing 1080 ESC and upgrade the ESC as well. And this has a selectable BEC that I can bump up. So for like 40 bucks for that, 20 bucks for that, it's a no-brainer for a nice little upgrade. So I just got done soldering on the bullet connectors. So I'm gonna swap this out real quick and program it with the included program card, and get the body on there. And there's one more little surprise, and I'm done with this portion of the build. Okay, I'm back. I've got the Hobbywing Quick Run 1080 installed. Got the Holmes Trailmaster Sport 27 turn 540 installed with that same 15 tooth pinion I had in there. And I'm telling you what, on 3S this thing is insane. I actually had to turn down the top speed and adjust the punch down a little bit just to get this guy so it wouldn't be so out of control. I mean, it's just begging to jam on it, and you know, I don't want to treat this like a basher now that I've got it all built up. It's going to be a little more tame trail truck action than the previous kind of crawling, pretty extreme crawling I was doing with it. Anyways, so now on to the fun part, big body reveal with all the gear and stickers and whatnot. Alright, as promised, final little surprise here. No build can be complete without the super cheap, super generic crawler body interior. So got it, you know, of course it comes pre-painted. It's kind of this, you know, skin tone seat color here. So super easy, just cut out for the towers and the rear light bucket and wiring routing, and then just kind of lined it up over top, and it gets sandwiched between the magnets. So I just, you know, reamed out the holes, and it just sits in place when the body's on top. So now I've got a little coverage for the wiring and some of the battery and some of the guts inside. Looks a little more scale. So I think the final thing before the reveal is going to be getting this thing back on the scales and seeing how we weigh in here at the end of the build. So let me get out the 4 corner scales and let's check this thing. Alright, got it up on the scales with no battery in, and looks like we are 131 ounces, so 8.2 pounds. I believe this started at 81 ounces. So that's a little, just a hair over 5 pounds, so definitely gained a little weight here. Good ratio still, front bias. So we'll get the battery in and see, and then we'll get on to the reveal. Alright, back at the battery in, and we definitely jumped up 142.8 ounces, so that is what, like 8.9 pounds. So almost 4 pounds from the original, I don't know, it was like 5.1 pounds. Well, I guess it was 5.1 without the battery. With the battery, of course, we added a little weight to the rear, so we went 47 rear, 53 front. But overall, not bad for a trail truck. Instead of showing it here, since this is a long build video, I'm going to make just a short reveal video for this guy. So I will leave you with a teaser.